So there are net squared groups around the world. This is an updated map for those of you who are bored of the other one. And this is the current active net squared groups in various different parts of the world. They are all affiliated with Net Squared, which is a part of TechSoup Global, the organization that helps nonprofits in technology. But there's no formal affiliation. It's not a membership sort of thing. So people tend to define themselves differently. In our case, we tend to hearken to the phrase of using the social web for social change. In one way or another, that's a very broad kind of statement. And the main way in which we do that is with these Net Tuesdays, which happen on the first Tuesday of every month. On the second Tuesday, which will be a week from tonight, we'll have a planning meeting, which is a conference call, and everyone's invited to join that. We also have a website you might be familiar with, and we have a Google group that goes up and down in terms of usage and participation, but often has some interesting discussions and is a good place to ask questions and get lots of answers. Over the past year, this is the sessions that we've had. I've highlighted the Crowdsourcing Change, which we do every few months, and you can see some of those and some of the former subjects of those. And otherwise, it's usually on some sort of topic having to do with that would be useful for people who are trying to make the world a better place using social tools in one way or another. So coming up, actually we have our next 2 months planned already, which is good, or starting to be planned. So as I mentioned, next week we'll have a planning meeting. It's a conference call. If anybody's interested in that, you're welcome to. Please see me for call-in instructions. On March 5th, Don Lafferty, who is a media strategist, social media strategist, will be here talking about an integrated social media strategy. And we're still fashioning that session, so if there are aspects of that that anyone is interested in and wants to make sure is covered, now's a very good time to be able to speak up about that. And then in April, I'm excited to announce that we're going to be having Amy Sample Ward here, who is the author, one of the authors of this book, which is coming out later this month. If you can't read the Social Change Anytime, Everywhere, and if you can't read the subtitle, How to Implement Online Multi-Channel Strategies to Spark Advocacy, Raise Money, and Engage Your Community. Amy is a very dynamic speaker. She's coming in from New York for this, and that'll be actually a very interesting session. So think about that. We're also streaming this event right now online. We're using that camera. This camera is broken, and so we won't be getting crowd shots. But we are streaming this live, and we're making a recording of it. And then also during that time, we're supporting a Twitter back channel. So anyone from within here who wants to tweet something with a hashtag of PHLNET2, or folks who are out there in cyberspace may be tweeting that and may bring their questions or comments into the room. Andrew back there is monitoring the Twitter channel and will be the voice of cyber something, if such a voice is to be voiced. In addition to the fact that we have these events as entertainment or learning, it's also something we try and achieve through networking. So people are encouraged to sign in the sign-in sheet. We'll take that information as far as just the contact information and recirculate it to the people in this room, just the people in this room. Same thing with the business cards. If you leave a business card, we'll scan your business card and send a scanned copy of all the business cards out to the people in the room. So it's as if you've distributed to all the people in the room, but it won't go beyond that, beyond the room. People should all, or most, have a tag, a way of tagging yourself with not only your name, but something else. And in this case, it's a game that you might want to note, and it has nothing to do with the presentation tonight. It's merely an icebreaker and a way to network with one another. And we have a strict no questions too stupid policy that we try and challenge every month and invite you to see if you can get by that. Some quick housekeeping. There's food on the table over there. We don't want to bring anything home, so please eat it all. We are composting and recycling. This is a Platinum LEED certified building. And in fact, for the first time this month, all of the plates, glass, cups, and silverware, plasticware, are in fact compostable, not just recyclable, they're compostable. As is the hoagies, the meats and cheeses, that's all compostable. So it goes through an industrial composter, and please take advantage of that.
So put them in the green can and not the other ones.
Well, this is actually a good time. So Pat McVie, who's a loudmouth and spoke up, is the executive director of the Friends Center, and is invited to just welcome you.
Well, now you know one thing about me. Seth says I'm a loudmouth. Well, Friends Center is very happy to host Net Tuesday, and every once in a while I come in and partake and really appreciate everything you guys do. And Seth, this month, decided to go with make sure everything is compostable move. So there's a green compost thing there, and almost everything you have can go into that, including, as Seth said, since it goes to a commercial composter, bread, meat, and cheese. We can compost anything, napkins, the cups, the plates. So thanks for being here, and I hope we have a good evening.
Okay, so moving on with housekeeping. Bathrooms are on the other side of the elevators, out in the hallway. We have Wi-Fi access here. It's an open network called Friends Guest. It was activated as of this morning, so those of you who are used to using AFC wireless, that will be phased out. But Friends Guest is an open network. I mentioned that we are video recording. In this case, we don't have a video-free area because that's the video-free area, because that's the only camera we have. And we will be using microphones, and that's not so much so that you can be heard within the room, but that's so that the stream and the recording can be more audible. So we ask you to be patient and wait for a microphone to be able to ask a question or make a comment. I'll be running a microphone, and I'll ask for a volunteer who might also run a microphone from the other side of the room. So think about whether that's an opportunity you would like to partake in. If you parked across 15th Street in the parking lot, make sure to go to the front desk up here and get your card validated. It'll reduce the cost of the parking. And for those who are interested, if you'd like to come out for a drink or a bite after the event, we'll continue the conversation in a more informal atmosphere, and that usually is also very interesting and informative in various different ways. The sponsor for tonight is the American Friends Service Committee, which is one of the tenants of the Friends Center. And the American Friends Service Committee provides peace and social justice work throughout the United States and throughout the world in various different capacities. And that's all I'm going to say right now. So what we're going to do is just introduce yourselves quickly. We'll just go around, and then Denny will start the program. Any objections? Any questions? Okay. So I am Seth Horowitz. I earn my living here at the American Friends Service Committee, working in the area of knowledge management. I also consult under CommuniShare, the name of CommuniShare. And I'm very pleased to be able to learn what I can from these events. So, Andy?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Andy Sharp. I'm a freelance writer for the nonprofit news website Generosity. And I'm excited because I'm actually not familiar with any of these organizations.
Great.
Hi, I'm Johanna Levitt. I'm a social worker, and I come to learn. And occasionally I think I do challenge the no question is too stupid rule. And I'm so glad to see the Career Wardrobe is still operating. I saw you in Ardmore many, many years ago. And so glad to see everybody here.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I'm David Greising. I help amazingly talented and motivated and experienced people find the work that they should be doing. I write a blog about work and values pretty much on a weekly basis and have written a book about it. And I'm really trying to get people where they need to get to. So it's good to see everybody.
Pat, you want to say anything else?
No, I think you've met me.
Right?
I'm Faye Anderson, Track and Change.
I'm Conrad. I'm here representing Ben Abramson, the IT director for T-Club.
Mike Student, freelance web application developer.
John James, several computer engineering companies.
Sherry Happy. I'm new to Philadelphia. I've only been here for a couple of months, and I work in the advertising and promotion business.
Rob Riker. Rob Riker, I'm with the AIDS Fund.
Brianna Morgan from the Office of HIV Planning, which supports the community planning process for HIV parent prevention in the greater Philadelphia area. And I manage our web presence.
Rich Collier, part-time volunteer with the. There we go.
In my spare time, volunteer with a volunteer fire company as IT and financial operations, and during my regular day, I'm helping the government communicate on health and science topics.
Hi, my name is Nancy Massey. My business is masseynet.com, and I build websites.
Hi, I'm Ben Bruckman, and I'm currently working upstairs at the American Friends Service Committee, not far away from Seth.
Why don't we skip you guys for now because we'll be introducing you with the panel. So if you don't mind passing it back there.
I'm Ryan Draving. I run a internet marketing agency for local service businesses, so professionals in the area, and I help out a couple nonprofits with their marketing as well.
Hi, I'm Heather Gagan. I'm a fundraising consultant for about 15 years.
Hi, I'm Eve Goldhirsch. I'm a user experience researcher.
Hi, I'm Jim Worster. I'm an info advocate.
Hi, I'm Fitzgerald Putnam, and I'm an IT consultant here at the FSC.
Hi, my name is Andrew Sather. I work in IT at a small independent law library down the street, and today, as Seth said, I will be the voice of the internet. The one voice. So if everyone's out there listening, if you tweet with the hashtag PHLNetSquared, then I'll see it, and I will attempt to voice your concerns or questions. And if you're here, you're welcome to do that too. I'm always happy to voice your concerns if you would rather not voice them yourself.
I'm Mary, and I'm working to become a social media guru.
Hi, I'm Julia from the company New Citrus. We create websites, mobile applications, and software development.
Okay.
I'm Matt from Aidsfund. I'm the corporate and communications coordinator.
Okay, thanks everybody. Okay, so Denny, why don't you tell us why we're here?
Okay. First of all, Seth normally asks this, but how many people have never been to a Philly Net Squared meeting? Okay. It's usually 50-50, so we have a little more that have been here before, so that's great. And we're very welcome, very happy to have all of our newcomers, and hope that you come again and enjoy our program this evening. Tonight we're doing, as Seth had said, Crowdsourcing Change, which is a recurring program that we've had. We've had a lot of success, lots of lively conversation. We've learned about a lot of really good, worthy organizations. And there's been a lot of excellent advice given, and we've heard from some of the other presenters in the past that they've implemented some of the suggestions, and so we're looking forward to continuing that. So for those of you who have not been here before, I'll just explain very briefly how it works. Initially, the presenters will explain what their organization does, a little bit about their marketing, how they use social media. They perhaps discuss some of the challenges or some types of campaigns that perhaps they're thinking that they may want to engage in. And then the crowd, which is you, then offer feedback and advice on how they can better leverage their social media. And you'll see at the end of each presentation, we will have a set of questions that we will have posted that they've given us in advance, but you're not limited to those questions, and we would expect, as always happens, that the conversation is more than just those questions. They're really just something to get some wheels turning and to get people thinking about things, some of your primary concerns. So occasionally we have theme nights, but tonight actually the theme is that everybody's different. So we have 3 very different types of organizations on the program. We have Career Wardrobe, which it seems like some people here are familiar with and even have had some sort of collaboration with in one way or another, which shows the reach that you have, which is really quite broad. And what Career Wardrobe does is they empower women in transition through programs that inspire the confidence necessary to achieve self-sufficiency and pursue a productive career. So they'll explain a little more about what they do, but a lot of people know that they have a program where they get professional clothes for women who may not be able to afford or their own clothes, so that when they go on their interview or when they get a job, that they have the proper type of attire. They help women learn how to write a resume, how to interview, business etiquette, things like that that maybe some of us take for granted, but depending on your circumstances, this may be new to you. And so they really help women get into the workforce, have confidence, and really empower themselves for the future. Career Wardrobe presenters are Caitlin Day, who's the Education and Outreach Manager, and Heather Bennett, Operations and Marketing Manager. Next up, we have 1812 Productions. And 1812 Productions, and I didn't know this, I know they always say this, but I keep thinking, like, really? It's the only theater company in the country dedicated to comedy. And they swear this is true, so I'm going to take them at their word. So they're.
Are you joking?
So since 2000, they've kept Philadelphia audiences laughing by creating and presenting shows that celebrate our sense of community, our history, and our humanity. I am personally a big fan of what they do. I've seen a lot of their shows. I've gotten a lot of laughs. I don't know if anyone else here has seen any of their shows, but good. Okay, so they've been around for a while. Their shows are often very popular. They've won some Barrymore Awards for people in the theater community. That's a local award that's given here in Philadelphia for theatrical excellence. And they stage works as well and presentations that are both original and also by established and emerging playwrights. And they cover the comedy gamut from satire, silent pantomime they recently did. It was a fabulous show. Cabaret, celebrations of vintage TV shows, and other forms of comedy, including one of my favorites, which is their annual political comedy show. This is the week that is, which actually gives Saturday Night Live a run for its money. That's really, really fun. And anyway, so we're very happy to have 1812 Productions here, and the presenters for 1812 are Tyler, and this is awful because I've known you for years and I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce your last name. Melchior, okay. Tyler Melchior, Marketing and Public Relations Director, and Eric Thomas, Marketing and Public Relations Assistant. And then lastly, we have the South Asian American Digital Archive, known as, and here's another instance where I'm not 100% sure of the pronunciation, but I'm going to say SAADA, which is the only independent nonprofit organization working to document, preserve, and provide access to the rich history of South Asians in the United States. I don't know how many of you were on their website to look them up before coming here, but they have a really fascinating site where they have all different types of archives and photos and written letters, brochures, audio clips, newspaper articles, all kinds of things which document the past and which they hope will help shape the future with stories from South Asian Americans from around our community. So the organization just won a grant from the Asia Mosaic Fund, which just happens to have an awards banquet tonight. And that's where their executive director, Samip Mallick, is at the moment, but he promises to be here a little after 7. So he'll be stopping in, and so he'll be the last presenter on the program. And we're glad he's willing to steal away from that banquet to be part of our Crowdsourcing Change event. And that's about it. So we're ready to begin. I just want to remind everybody that if you want to use the Twitter back channel, it's hashtag PHLNet2. And otherwise, we'll kick things off with Career Wardrobe.
Excuse me, Demi, how long is the session? Do you want time check?
Okay, if anybody sees Andrew back there going like this, that's the final. So first it's like 5 minutes.
Well, how long in total?
I'm sorry. Each presenter gets a half an hour. Right? So well, a total half an hour. So, right.
All right, am I good? Can I start talking? Sure. Is this good? Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Caitlin. What I'm going to do is just start off and tell you a little bit about Career Wardrobe. Can I get this up here? I don't know. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our organization in general, and then Heather, being the marketing manager, will tell you more about our marketing strategy. So what we do, Denny already graciously introduced us, we provide dressing assistance and also professional development and job readiness education to women that are transitioning back into the workforce. We've been around for 17 years, so you've known us for quite some time. We've served over 75,000 women. We see approximately 4,000 every year for our dressing services and 1,500 for our education programs. So
15 in a year?
1,500 women in a year. Mm-hmm.
About 100 a month?
Well, it's all different kinds of ways we put it together. So some months we see a whole bunch of women and others we don't. And that includes our outreach education as well as our in-house education.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm sorry, and I don't mean to be rude, but just ask, Joan, we just asked if you could, that's okay, if you just hold your questions to the end, and then everyone will get a chance, okay? Because otherwise sometimes it sidetracks things. But that's, sorry, thank you.
Great. So this is a little bit about who we serve. So when we get into our marketing, you have a better idea of who we're trying to reach. So 90% of our dressing referrals, which is how folks come to us, come from the Department of Public Welfare via a program called PA Workwear, which is how the Department of Public Welfare has decided to distribute funds to provide clothing assistance to women that cannot afford it. All of these women are receiving TANF, which is Temporary Assistance for Needy Families. Currently, we have 30 referral agencies referring clients from dressing or educational services. So in addition to our Department of Public Welfare referrals, we make individual relationships with other nonprofits in the city that service the same population that we do. So that way, if they're attending a job training program, or if they're attending any other program or in a domestic violence shelter or homeless shelter, they can be referred to us through those independent nonprofits. We also give complimentary memberships to city and state reps. So if someone goes to the city council member for their district and says that they need assistance, they can send them directly to us as well. We recently revamped our individual membership program, which is how a woman who falls outside of all of these other options can come to us. So if you are not receiving public assistance, not in any sort of training program, we have a two-tiered membership level. So $50 gets you this full membership, which is access to all of our services at any time you need them, emergency appointments, etc. And then a smaller membership that's $10 plus 2 hours of volunteering, and that gives them the business suit they need and access to our education programs, very base level. Also, it should be noted that I don't think we've ever turned anyone away if all of these
will
are
fall in here somewhere.
Yeah.
If not, we make that happen.
Absolutely. So a little breakdown of what we do and some pictures so we can show off how awesome we are. Our dressing suite, not only do we provide the clothing in our little before and after here, but along with that comes the confidence and the sense of community, and that is what we target. When we do our outcomes, yes, we like to track other things, like if you get a job, if you get an interview, but you're not job placement. What we do is inspire the confidence necessary to achieve self-sufficiency. That's what we go after. Our education programming, this is my little wheelhouse. So we have professional development seminars for our clients, and they kind of fall into two categories. We have our Gateway to Success program, which is intensive. There's hour-and-a-half workshops on 10 different topics: time management, professional development, professional etiquette, financial literacy, etc. And then we also have a Blitz Basics seminar, which is held once a month. It's part of a sponsorship with PICO. They give us their space the second Wednesday of every month. We go in and we have one-on-one resume reviews with volunteer professionals. So our ladies have the opportunity to get their critical feedback on their resume. Workshop, free breakfast. And then we have our Professional Women's Network. After women complete these programs, they become a part of Professional Women's Network, whether they want to or not. It's just something that they are a part of. Through there, we offer more lifestyle-oriented workshops, and it's really dictated by what the women want. Right now, this program is kind of, the Professional Women's Network is a little dormant, thank you, because we just revamped this education program. We, for this fiscal year, is this new education program. So we'll ask you questions about that. But that's more or less what our education program looks like. Our call to action is donate, volunteer, shop. This is our outward facing. This is what we say to supporters, volunteers, our Facebook page. Everything that comes out of us this is how we try and get people to engage with us. Donate, whether it's professional clothing, casual wear, any of clothing for women, and then also financial donations obviously are welcome and encouraged. Club 153 is our recurring yearly donation. $153 is what it costs to clothe and educate one woman for 1 year. Volunteer. So we encourage anyone that's interested in dedicating their time to us to volunteer, either by facilitating those education programs I briefly spoke about, becoming a shopping or boutique assistant. So when a woman comes in for her appointment to receive her clothing, she has a scheduled appointment. She meets one-on-one with a dressing assistant who shows her our suite, which is set up like a boutique, helps her pick out good clothes and gives her critical feedback. All of our women try on clothes before they leave, and that's part of the confidence piece of what we do. You can also be a clothing drive assistant, help us run clothing drives, or run a clothing drive for us at your business, or be on an event committee. We like to have members of the community help us plan and execute our events, because we are community-based, and we want to stay that way forever. And then shop, we have a resale boutique on 19th and Spring Garden that's open to the public. So it's our earned income project. It's a way for us to use all of the donations that we receive to benefit women that we serve. So over the years, since we've been around for 17 years, people see us as a place where they donate all of their clothing, which used to be annoying, but now is fantastic because we use it all now. If something is so high quality but it's not workwear, we resell it, and 100% of those proceeds come back to funding all of those other programs that we talked about. So this is it's really fantastic if you've never been there. It's just a neat place in general. One of the employees is a former client of ours. We have an internship program where we push clients through that want to take that next step, where they can work at the wardrobe boutique or work at our client suite. And now Heather's going to
Now it's my turn to talk. So basically what we're trying to do is the clients who come into us throughout the year, those 4,000 women, we want to maintain and keep those clients engaged with us. We have ongoing initiatives for them. We have once a year 2 different programs. One's a Style and Hired event, and one is a Smart and Sexy Day. So we have different sorts of seminars and things that they could get a benefit from, but we need to get them to come and respond to us, which they tend to we have problems doing. We have, as Kate said, our Blitz Basic seminars. Again, that's open to the public. It's free of charge to these clients. We'd love to get them more engaged. Again, invite them to these. They're invited during their appointments when they come in, when we're there one-on-one. But once they walk out the door, we generally tend to have a problem getting them back in the door for these other events. They'll sign up, they're all engaged, they're really excited, and then they just don't come back. They don't come back. We have, as Kate said, the Professional Women's Network that actually grew out a couple of years ago because we did do a focus group with a bunch of our former clients, and they told us that when they came to the career wardrobe, that they felt more part of a family and they wanted to be more engaged. That they felt more one-on-one, and they saw us more as a support group than a social service agency. So we created the Professional Women's Network to give them that support group. It initially started, it was a monthly event. They came, they had breakfast, we did a quick 5-10 minute presentation on something, and then they had the rest of the time to talk amongst themselves, who needed issues, who had issues at work. They could, fix and help each other out on that, who was hiring, came down to who was, who had a great haul for a babysitting or a birthday party or something. I mean, it was just something for the clients. We have our sales generally at our boutique where things that aren't good for the wardrobe boutique but aren't good for our mission but are still very good and usable items that have been in our inventory, we sell on a quarterly basis. After career wardrobe, we open our doors with a bag for $20. It's a great bargain. If you're a woman who's on a budget and don't have the funds to go shopping, here's a great way to fill your closet for $20. Again, we want to get people in so they can take advantage of these things. And then we have the sort of different sales. People come to us all the time. Hey, we want to offer your clients some kind of medical assistance. We have this program. Things that could definitely benefit them. We want to maintain and keep that conversation going. So what we are doing now is we had a monthly newsletter that has the invitations to the Blitz Basics, to our Gateway to Success, and any of the other programs, like the Sell Me Hired, when we're looking for women to be part of that, or whatever seminar that comes up. We do a very short weekly e-blast that goes out as well. Usually it's sent on a Monday. We have follow-up email surveys, so we're trying to get feedback from them, where they're going, what's happening to them, if they've been hired, and they go out annually 3 times a month, or once every 3 months. That's good. So we can maintain and keep up with them. We do Facebook and Twitter posts. Our Facebook and Twitter are actually combined, so anytime we put on Facebook, it automatically goes out to Twitter. So that's a little bit of a shortcut for us. It's a little bit easier. And we do posts about interviewing information, resume information. If you see a great article about job hires or something, we're trying to get that out so we can be a resource for them when they're looking for information. Generally, we do about 2 to 3 of those status updates each month. And then we are attempting to start doing a blog. We're hoping to start next month, where we'll be doing a Motivational Monday specifically for clients to keep their motivation building and support going. So here's our problem. We serve about 4,000 women, and we really don't get a whole heck of a lot of response. We tend to have a bit of a low attendance. People will sign up. We'll have a list 3 pages long, and maybe 15 people come, or little or no response to any of the surveys and things that we do send out. We do know that a lot of the clients who are coming to us have very limited access to computers, or they're very computer illiterate. They don't even know what a mouse is. We do have an exit survey, and a lot of times they don't know where y'all put the cursor in the box. They don't know how to do that. So they tend to be a little bit of a problem there, and we need to keep the messages simple and easy to access. The emails that we do have come back, they bounce quite a bit. A lot of them do have a cell phone. Obviously, everyone has, the smartphones. It's easy to keep in touch with, but I'm not sure how long they keep those numbers, how long they keep the phones, and if the information they have, the one phone gets transferred to, obviously, the next phone. So trying to keep a steady information is difficult for us. So what we'd like to do is try and figure out a way where we might be able to continue to engage and come up maybe with a different idea on how we should be doing that. But we're out of ideas.
Okay, is that okay? Wait, we good? Okay. All right. I'm sorry. Did you have to, I was trying to get your. Was there something else really important, or because we were kind of wrapping? Okay. All right. It sounded like that's good because you had right there. You expressed a lot of different things. So, some particular questions that Career Wardrobe has sent in is how do we get our clients to pay attention to our Facebook page after they've had an appointment with us? But you've explained this sort of post-appointment engagement, or once they're left, there seems to be a number of challenges. Just number one, getting in contact with them, and then also getting them to actually attend. And then another question they have is, should we create separate Facebook pages for our different audiences, such as clients, supporters / volunteers, and the general public? So there's an, I don't know if you also, do we want to also, would they be able to show their dilemma too or not? Because I mean, that.
It's the same.
Yeah, it's the
Move
same
back and
basic
forth.
thing. Okay. All right. So.
Okay, before we begin, can I have a volunteer to run the other mic so we can stay on two sides of the room? Mills?
The website?
Yes.
Okay, so crowd.
The other thing I want to mention is that Jim Worster has volunteered to be taking notes. So one of the things we'll do, and you can demonstrate that, we'll switch over to the wall plate laptop at different times, and we'll keep track of notes. So if you hear something that wasn't recorded, please reiterate it, and we'll try and make sure that gets there, and then we'll distribute the notes out to everyone afterwards. So we'll try and retain some of the intelligence in the room. We'll move back and forth between the stated questions, what's being displayed on here, either the website or your PowerPoint, and the notes that Jim has taken.
Do we have some suggestions about helping them with some of these engagement issues? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I think you've got a problem with technology and getting people involved at the level you're trying to get them involved. I'm following somebody on Instagram who is a mentor in North Philadelphia, has a lot of adolescent young people who are following him on Instagram, and it's a tremendously successful program. You can get the pictures on your phone. You've got a business that is perfect for taking pictures and profiling individuals who are involved. It may be a whole lot easier for you than managing blogs and Facebook pages and Twitter and everything else, where even if people are following them, they're not engaging and getting back to you. I'm amazed at the level of involvement that this guy has gotten from his kids on Instagram. It's really pretty extraordinary. And I'd be happy to speak with you more about the sorts of things that he does, but he puts up inspirational phrases, he puts up pictures of books, he puts up pictures of concerts that people are going to, and there's a tremendous amount of engagement on Instagram, and it would be a lot easier for you.
Yeah. And we do know that our clients use that often. We're very well aware of that, yeah.
Eric?
Y'all can be a team.
All right, we'll take it on. I just have a question about your administrative capacity. Like, if you have so many women per month, how many staff members or reliable volunteers do you have that?
We do. We've got 6 staff. The running the staff. A lot of the program is actually run by internships. We do work with different social service agencies, and we use that as a teaching method to do customer service. So a lot of it is done by internships, and then we have probably, I'm going to say, about 20 different volunteers each week who are coming in specific shifts.
And who work directly with
they
the
work
women?
directly with the clients.
They
yes.
mostly do the dressing assistant thing that I was talking about, that opportunity where they do the hands-on work with the clients.
Okay.
Everything else is kind of us.
My thought on it is similar to what you had said about the Instagram. Is it seems like there's a need to centralize. We had talked about what now?
So that's me.
we have had discussions in the past about like different Facebook pages for different initiatives, and it seems to just kind of split the troops up a bit. But if there's one central location where the people who are using that material, if they're going to that central source for it, and who can then be responsible for disseminating to a particular number of clients, or if again that's that capacity question. If so many people can be responsible for so many other people, so that it becomes that tree of information to people who don't directly access it.
Yeah,
that makes sense. That makes sense.
So if you, our Facebook page itself it goes back and forth. Some of our posts are definitely directed towards supporters and volunteers, like, hey, donate to us. And then other posts are definitely directed towards clients, like, hey, here's a workshop you can come to for free, here's a job search tip. So our Facebook page, on one hand, is really awesome because it shows, like, our whole organization, right? But on another hand, we know our clients use Facebook all of the time. We see them on their phones all of the time using it. But why won't they use it with us? Why won't they engage with us? Is it because they get turned off when they see the supporter-directed content? Is it not, like, cool enough. Like, that, it's confusing.
Okay, does someone want to address that? Or is there a specific, you have a different, maybe? Right, maybe?
I have lots of questions. I can't support you with IT or anything, but I'm just wondering, that answers my first question. They are on Facebook. I was thinking, what kind of other outreaches do you do? Like go back to organically calling people if their cell phone minutes haven't run out. I work with a population where I'm trying to call them, and it hasn't occurred to me. They're on one of those prepaid phones. Their cell phone minutes have run out. And I'm running and knocking on their door.
Yeah, we actually have, when they sign in, we ask for a follow-up number, because it's for that reason, is the numbers change, their phone's out of whatever. So we ask for another contact. So, and even that doesn't, we can't get a hold of them.
Because I feel like this is on a whole other level of contacting people, things that everyone in this room may be taken for granted. But then if they're on Facebook, I'm wondering then, if you said it's not cool enough, maybe they don't want to air their business to their friends. Wow, I need work clothes, or I'm looking for a job or something. Who knows? I don't know if that's an issue.
Okay, right. Although, have you tried anything like, sort of like my story or my success story, where the people that are your clients, short mini video?
Thank you for bringing that up, because that's a beautiful segue into our. We are one of 74 organizations who have been chosen through the Huffington Post for the job raising challenge, and this is a way that what we're doing is we are reaching out to everyone. We're reaching out to our clients, we're reaching out to our donors or supporters, media folks, whoever, to ask them their story of the suit. And it's been we've been pushing it out on Twitter, on our Facebook pages, we've been doing emails, we've got a whole campaign going on about this. So all of you listening, please go your story of the suit to us so we can get you on our page.
You can also answer this question: how do we get more people to do this if you want?
Yeah. But the photos that Kate's been scrolling through are actual clients and their stories of the suit, and so we are trying to get their stories and get them to share it, and what that suit did to them and how that made them feel, and share that empowerment and that motivation behind it. So it will inspire other people.
I'm just curious with video, is that a written thing or is it video? Because some people, whether they're comfortable with typing it all out, or it's just easy if they're there.
It's a conversation that we have with them. So
you
they
do?
write it down,
Yeah.
or if there's a client, we have many clients, like you said, that don't feel comfortable. Yeah. For some people, we're strictly social service. They come in, they get what they need, they leave, and other people engage with us. And those that engage, like you can see this young lady, clearly she is happy that she is with us and happy to tell her story, and happy to pose for us. So clients that have that personality, we kind of gravitate towards them and ask them to help us out.
Okay.
We don't actually have video because that's a harder thing for us to do. We don't have really the capacity to get a good quality up there.
Nobody has an iPhone?
Well, you can put it on YouTube.
Seriously,
Yeah.
seriously. I mean, you have like an iPhone.
No one has the time to stop what they're doing and go to our video our clients and then do. We don't have the capacity to do it.
Okay. All right. I just mentioned it because it's just
We just had a video done for us, but we haven't had.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, it doesn't need to be super professional. You just ask a question, they talk, boom, they're out. We've done that. I work for a health insurer that works for Medicaid. It's the same, type of population.
Right.
They talk for a minute, minute and a half, they're out. They love it, in terms of that kind of thing. Okay, go ahead. You have a question?
Yeah, I was going to say, the way you have it addressed is it looks as if your Facebook page is about messaging
your donors and your volunteers and your clientele, whereas your Facebook page should be just about career wardrobe, and that's it. Whether it's a new suit that's come in, a new something, but rather than a message system, a posting for your volunteers, it should just be about what you're doing. And then you have other ways to contact your volunteers or to let them know what's going on. The other thing is, I just heard a piece where 46% of people in Philadelphia do not have computers. So perhaps incorporating the career wardrobe with a computer lab, 8 stations where women could come and do their emailing, do their resumes, print them out, whatever, might engage them more because then they have to keep coming back to you.
Someone can donate 8 computers?
Well, I'm sure if you go online, there's someone out there that would probably donate computers somewhere.
Heather, resources that come to your lab.
Heather?
Lots of computers.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm new here, so I'm the one that messed the floor up. So I'll clean up my own mess afterward. But I missed something. You have 6 people in your organization doing all these good things, and those 6 people don't have time to shoot a video or a picture.
Generally, no.
Okay, that's good. That means they're working really hard now. And you're looking for resources, but you don't have any money. So you want something for nothing. Okay, then why don't you ask? So a place like freecycle.com, they give you something for nothing. That's all they do. And you're not allowed to charge anything.
Okay.
Or they won't let you in. Okay. As far as if you're that busy, what most people do, if they don't have time to take a picture, they hire a photographer. I know of a couple of photographers that would probably do it next to nothing if they could take a picture of Caitlin and you. Oh, okay, that's all.
Okay, Andy? Oh, sorry, what?
So just to be clear about it, let Benny call the next people, and we'll just run them. I violated that before.
All right.
And Andrew has some cyber questions when you're ready.
Sorry. Okay.
Okay, so have you reached out to local thrift stores to see if they'd be willing to help you get the word out about career wardrobe?
No, we have not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be because, I mean, obviously they cater to the sort of people that you would want to reach out to. And you're in Ardmore. I know there are a lot of thrift stores that are on the main line in the Ardmore area.
We're in Philadelphia.
Oh, you're in Philadelphia?
Yeah,
Oh.
she's known us from the past. When we
okay.
But we are in Center City.
Okay. Well, I mean, obviously there are a lot of thrift stores in Center City, so Philadelphia AIDS Thrift Store and all these other great thrift stores could be a big help for you.
Absolutely.
Okay, was there a hand that we missed? Okay. Andrew? Yeah.
Oh, I was just scrolling through your Facebook page on my phone, so it's probably not the best vantage point for it. But one thing that I noticed is that cross-posting your Twitter and your Facebook posts might actually be really hurting you guys, because the frequency of the Facebook posts and the level of engagement that you have on them is low enough that you're probably not showing up in a lot of people's news feeds. So if you kept the frequency of the posts up on Twitter but lowered it on Facebook a little bit, it would probably be really helpful. The other thing I noticed is a lot of the stuff on Facebook is kind of asking people to do something as opposed to providing value. And if maybe like offering kind of career tips or like, I don't know, this is what a red purse says about you when you go to an interview. So anything short and sweet and helpful like that would probably be really, really great for the clients.
Okay. Great. Right. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And just, I know we're
what organization?
to
HIV planning.
HIV.
Okay.
They don't need clothes.
Okay. All right. Well, we are just getting ready to wrap up, but I'm sorry. Now I've lost track of what I was going to say. I'll remember later. Sorry.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead. Did you have a comment?
I have a question.
Sure.
So I heard you say that.
I heard you say that your clients are not coming to these events, and also that they're not looking at your Facebook page on Facebook. Have you asked them why?
So in regards to the events, so for example, the Blitz Basics workshop seminar that we had in January, we had 26 people RSVP and we had 9 people show up. I do follow-ups personally. Email, if you don't answer my email, I will call you, and I will call you 3 times, and then that's it. So when I do get the responses, usually it is something that I call an excuse, but I know that's a loaded thing. I missed the bus, it was cold, it was hot, it was rainy, it was too dry. So whatever. What I'm getting at is like there's no real like reason,
There's no
or
concrete that we can point to.
yeah, or they're not telling me what that reason is for some reason, which I feel like I personally am pretty good at getting through to clients. So when I do get through to a handful that will let me know the reasons, a lot of it comes down to like feeling just uncomfortable because they don't know where to start. And so the problem is like we don't have the capacity to do case management services, and what our clients are actually asking in one way or another is for that from us. So I think that's kind of where it comes from. I'm trying really hard to build up word of mouth because everyone that does come to our events, our evaluations and feedback is phenomenal. They look happier. They engage with me personally when they're leaving and say, "Oh, I'm telling everyone about this." So, you know, maybe technology is not the way for us to reach our clients as much as it is to, you know, showcase, like other people were saying, like, you know, this month we had this many people come and so said this about this event. I'm like, that's it. Maybe that's where we need to go. I don't know. Now I'm thinking on the fly.
Okay. All right. I think we have to wrap up, but I remember what I was just going to say, so we'll just put that out there. But this is sort of a follow-up that's already been said, which is instead of just sort of asking, you know, people that have volunteered in it, which you can certainly put that in there, you know, because people are there watching if you have certain campaigns or whatever. But sometimes it's good to just ask a question, like what was the best advice that you got, you know, as a client, or, you know, or something like that. What's your best career advice, or what would you advise other people? Just something that's a question that you feel your clients can answer, and then they hope, you know, will respond to it. So it's low barrier, really easy, and it's still asking, but it's a different kind of question because they're sharing their experience. That's all. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We'll be around till the remainder. Okay, so we always have time at the end of our program for mix and mingle with all of the different presenters. So they're going to hang, and after all the other presenters are done, you'll be able to speak with them. Yes. Okay, next up is 1812 Productions, the only comedy theater company in the country.
That's right. There is actually another 1812 Productions. It's a theater company. It's in Australia, and it's exactly on the other side of the planet from where we are.
And they only do tragedy.
They only do tragedy. They only do tragedy. It's all Lear all the time. So, give me this up. So, a quick history of 1812 and our founding, and then I'll get into social media that we're working with, that we're trying out, that we're seeing what's what with. We are the only all-comedy theater company in the country. We're now in our 16th season. The company was founded by local artists, Jennifer Childs and Pete Pryor, who began the company on the founding principle that the world needs more laughter. They were one of the beginning conversations before the company was founded. Jen and Pete were both in a show together. I don't know what the show was, but apparently it was terrible, and they were both playing ministers of the devil. And they both smoked at the time, so during intermission they're out in the alley having a cigarette, talking about how terrible the show is, and they're talking about how they're going to start a company, they're going to make people laugh. And the next day, Jen read an article about the art of comedy in America, which contained the statistic that the average American laughs once a day. 2 years later, 1812 Productions was founded. We have, in our 16-year history, produced over 60 full productions. This is musicals, plays, cabarets, all kinds of comedy. Of those, more than half are world premieres or original works. We create a lot of our own material. And adding to that, there are dozens more workshops and developmental pieces that we've created or tried out in our studio space through the company and through our solo residency program. We are One of the founding principles of the company is a dedication to Philadelphia artists, and that's actors, directors, writers, technicians, designers. It's very rare that we hire outside of Philadelphia because the talent and the creativity is here. One of the things that has grown into 16 years later is our relationship with our subscribers and our ticket buyers is very sound. We talk often about how we deputize our ticket buyers. Our season brochures for the last 6 years have featured photos of our subscribers as the featured art. On the cover and throughout, people participate in a very special way. It's not a lot of past show productions. It's actual people laughing at real things. And we call them and like, hey, you want to come laugh for us? And they do. It's very first name basis with a lot of our funders, a lot of our subscribers and supporters. So that's the kind of relationship that we've cultivated with our core audience, and that we try and move into our connected audience as well. So that's a bit about us and who we are and how we operate. This is our website. In terms of social media, To Fool the Eye is the next show up, and it's not to be missed, really isn't. And I have a postcard with full dates for everyone. All of our social media platforms are at the top, and they're accessible through any page. No matter where you go, you can always get there. Facebook and Twitter are clear front runners. We have lots of regular content going up on Facebook, fun stuff, as well as hey, the show is going on. We've noticed a consistent growth in our Facebook likes. Traffic has been very steady over the past 6 months, which is owing to a couple of things that were going on, which I'll get to in a second. There's also ticketing functionality. You can buy tickets directly through the Facebook page, which is something that Eric set up this year. We just started experimenting with the sponsored ads to see what those do. We don't know, so we put $10 in it, and we'll see what that turns into. As of the end of the day, the sponsored ad had four views, so we'll see. So there are, I don't know if you want to give a tour here, but an upcoming cabaret that we have. The Mom Poems is a project I'll talk about in a bit. Posters went up around town. We had lots of photos of that happening, of people putting up posters, people picking up posters in coffee shops and whatnot. So we put an album up. It's like, this is what's happening in the community. The art is out there. Check it out. Go see the show. For Twitter, Twitter is still a bit of a negotiation for us because it is so... It's one thought yelled into a room with 4 billion other people speaking. So what that means, we will cross, within the next week, we'll have more than 1,000 followers with the way our growth has been, if that holds steady. But I don't know really what that means. 1,200 people on Facebook, I have a better idea of what that means. If I see a page or if there's a band I like or something, I can like that page and find out about them. Twitter, you just kind of click and follow, and if you miss them in the news feed, you miss them in the news feed. There's no real loss. There's no commitment through Twitter, so what 1,000 followers is, I don't know. I don't know what the real world implication is of that. So that's something that's still a question mark for us, but we maintain it, and we have attempted to do more communication through it, more short communication, like the Duchess is everywhere, which is the posters. That's when the posters were going up around town. What we found is we have to learn a new way to communicate and express a thought with Twitter that doesn't necessarily work for Facebook or other sites. Pinterest is something that we've started too. We just started because of this project here called the Mom Poems, which is similar to the story of the Sues, what it made me think of. We have our next production is called It's My Party, the Women in Comedy Project. And there are several community organizations that are participating in this, Women in Transition, Women Against Abuse. Okay, great. Those are the ones.
So those are them.
Those are them. And some others. Thank you. What we did, there's a small part in the show. Jennifer Childs, who created this show, created a short poem that began, I had this dream that I became my mom, or that I became my mother. And there were 4 descriptors after that. And she created this poem, passed it out to the artists who were collaborating on this project, and said, fill it out and we'll just see what it is. And it became this kind of electric moment because they're very real and very raw, and some are funny, some are kind of innocuous. They're all revealing in some way or another. So we decided to just open it up to the public. And we sent it out into the world through email, through Facebook, and on our website, inviting people, send us your mom poem, fill it out. Don't worry about being funny, just tell us the story, send us a photo, and through that, that was mine, that was up there. We have a gallery of them now. We have close to, let's say over 60. We have over 60 now, and there are several waiting. To be a little strategic about it, we're releasing 3 or 4 a day. So we have a backlog of them, but Eric has done a lot of the creation of them, and they all go into this gallery, and they're all wonderful in their own special way. Some of them are really shocking. My mom kept saying shit. So this woman, for example, there are no photos of her mother. We had a conversation with her we asked her about that, and so she sent a photo of herself, and there was long commentary. They all go up on Facebook on the same day they go on the website, and this particular poem on our Facebook page has this long commentary from Laura Morris, who wrote this, and from, she doesn't mind that we're talking about this on camera, and from a friend of hers who started to have this conversation about remembering her mother. So, and that's the kind of thing that which gets back into, yes, ticket sales are ultimately what we want to do, but it is also about community, and it's about people feeling connected to it. And comedy is a great door opener for the world. This was a great project to start the Pinterest page with. Some functionality issues. We don't have functionality through the website to like pin a specific poem, but you can pin the poems. So that's kind of an issue that we're talking about. Also, once this concludes and once the show is over, what do we do then? This has just started, so we're going to see how it goes. So yes, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, those are where we're looking at right now. YouTube is something that we had our first experience with a viral video after Todd Aiken made his legitimate rape comment. We do a political satire every year called This Is the Week That Is. Jen Childs taped a video, Welcome to the Todd Aiken Medical Center. That's sensational. And it is accessible on our YouTube channel. And it was the first time we had, all of our videos had like 100 hits, 75 hits. This one had 7,600 in 2 weeks, which was great for us. But we don't, even though we are a visual company, we're a performing company, there are not lots of opportunities to create that kind of video because we've got union actors who have to be paid to be on camera. There are difficulties with it. And also the question about, because I often come to, well, I've got a smartphone, I can just stand there and do this, is the quality of it. We don't want to put, there's a difference between do-it-yourself and home video. And so there is the time commitment and the technical commitment to creating quality output, which we're just, is a time and money issue. Pinterest and Google+. We started a Google+ page about a year ago. We used to actively pursue people on it. We have 36 followers, I think. or is that 27? We have 27. And I'm wondering, I never use Google+. I hear about it. I've heard from people, a friend of mine who's heavy into the tech world, that it's a plan thing, that you use Google+ because you refuse to use Facebook. I'm not interested in that, and if it's just the same group of people twice, do we need this? What is it for? I update this less regularly than our Facebook page because I just don't see anybody on it. Will Wheaton is always on my newsfeed from Star Trek. I love it. I love that I can follow Will Wheaton, but that's the only reason I have it. And so that's a question. And LinkedIn. It comes down to proper uses for this. For LinkedIn, we used to have a page. Again, we actively pursued people for about the length of a season. Follow us, check us out. You can get through to our shows. You could buy tickets on LinkedIn. And we had 4 followers after 6 months. And so, but eventually we still have it, but we just deleted all the material off of it. Now it's just an empty page out there, and we got rid of the link. So those are that is the survey portion of this presentation. So questions I have are between Facebook, Twitter, and this hopefully successful Pinterest campaign.
Okay, I put them up. I condensed them a little bit. Is that okay?
Oh, okay, that's great.
All right.
Yes.
Okay,
so Google Plus is this. I don't want to put in time and effort into something that is, if it's just Facebook too, and if people aren't, and if it's such a specific group of people who aren't really interested, I don't need to keep throwing material out there when I can take that time to do something else. LinkedIn, same thing. That's a business page. I understand that the model of that network is very different from Facebook and whatnot. People use it for different things. Does anybody need that? Does anybody ever turn to LinkedIn to find out what's going on in the world? And then Pinterest. Once this project expires, what then?
And just as a follow-up to the Pinterest point, sorry.
You can go ahead and talk.
Just as a big follow-up to the Pinterest point, a lot of our content, specifically with Pinterest, but online in general, has to do with messaging our company ethos, which, of course, is the world that the world needs more laughter. So we are not so much geared or looking for solutions that will lead people from Pinterest to immediately purchase tickets, but we're looking for ways that we can continue to create supplementary content without having to hire a whole nother staff of writers to create that content. For instance, Twitter, a lot of successful comedians use Twitter as their primary mode of communication, and which transfers into ticket sales. We can't ask our, Jen Childs, our founder, to sit at a computer for even an hour a day coming up with jokes.
And to generate that kind of content.
Yes. And while we're very funny, it's that we don't have time to do it either.
While we're spectacularly funny.
Even the funniest people you've ever met, but we don't have time for that.
We should be charging admission right now.
So again, what are the models for content creation that is both sort of easily transferred and also has a limited time expenditure?
Okay, John, what is?
Yeah, is there some way you could get the public to try their hand at creating humor on the tweets? Get the public to do it instead of.
Sure. Yeah, well, we use them visually enough. The actual ticket buyers are there representing the product that we sell each season. So I don't know.
We have the political satire show. We can do a sort of submit your best political joke with a hashtag and see how that goes. I don't see any harm in that.
Yeah.
Right. Andrew?
Sure. Okay.
To answer the first question, I see you also have a fairly active YouTube page. You've got over 14,000 views on it. And I think if you have a YouTube page, it becomes a lot easier to also have a Google Plus page along with a Gmail email account. And I think with that, it is worth it to have a Google Plus because I do think just like you mentioned, you reach that that crowd that hates Facebook, and on Google Plus to get away from Facebook.
What's the relation though between YouTube and Google Plus?
Because everything is owned by Google.
So it's like that particular people who follow that kind of brand and participate in
Yeah,
it. Okay.
yeah. Because I work for a nonprofit, and we recently did create a YouTube account. And in order to do that, Google directed us to also create a Google Plus account as well as a Google email address. So I do think that everything is interlinked. So I do think, yeah.
So because we infrequently use the Google Plus, do you think, and we infrequently create video, is it conceivable that we would create a social? I don't use YouTube to find out like what's going on, but could Google Plus be like our video page, like our video social page? Like is that?
Yeah.
Or is that
I wouldn't
much?
No, I would not. YouTube is the one that gets the searches, and also it's the major search engine optimization. So say that you could, if you want to, sometimes it's a resource issue. I understand what you're saying, but if your resources are a little stretched, and you say, you know what, we only have time to do 3 things, then maybe it is on. You'd have to decide, whether it's worth it. But I understand what you're saying, though, as far as that community goes. And I don't. It seems sort of ironic that people hate Facebook, so they're going to some other social media. But I guess, everybody has their reasons why they would do that. But you do have, as far as the video, you mentioned about, the quality of it. And I understand what you're saying in certain instances. Clearly you want it. But just like you have on, This Is the Week That Is, when Dave goes out in the lobby and he does his thing, you could actually have someone, if you don't have your actors, if you have to pay them, but do sort of exit interviews or something, either like, what was your favorite part of the show? What did you think of the show? I mean, your shows would generate a lot of enthusiasm when people are coming out. And then you could also ask, and I don't know why this popped in my head, but it's asking people to just laugh. Wasn't that commercial that's on TV now where they describe their engines or something? Isn't that what they do? They go, woo, woo. Somebody said that. I don't know. Something. But
we photograph everybody.
Right.
We laugh where we make them laugh.
But video them laughing too. And then you could, I know it sounds goofy, but these are the kind of things that people like to watch. And then you can sort of possibly splice it together and just, laughing. And if you wanted to, and I'll be quiet in a second, but you could almost have, you mentioned the statistic about the average person laughs once a day. And you can have a funny thing about how, except for when they come to one of your shows, and then you completely skew that statistic, and the people that come to 1812 Productions laugh an average of blah blah, make whatever. But and then you have the laughing or something. Well, whatever. But anyway, people it's just like a baby likes to look in the mirror to see a baby, or babies look. Somehow you think, how's a little baby know that's a baby, right? But somehow they do. But even baby laughing, that's good too. But anyway, I'm just thinking the idea of laughing. We see people laughing, it makes other people laugh, it makes them feel good. So I'm just, something with the laughing and the exit interviews, and they don't all have to be all the same thing, but they're just some ideas. Okay. Yes?
I know we started a Pinterest page because everyone else, you need to be on Pinterest. It hits our demographic, so it made sense for us to do it. And when you said you have the poems up there, but you can also do, pictures of people laughing and just have a photo of a file of just laughter, people laughing. People like the behind the scenes, so if you're doing backdrops and painting and doing things like that and how to make the stage sets, people would love to look at, that's how they created that, that's what they're doing, things like that. You can have a folder directly for that, just create anything that you see during the day that made you giggle, even on the street or something. You can just, a giggle. idea. And
that's really like today's giggle. Or,
Right.
yeah,
What made you laugh today? Right, something like that. Yeah.
something like that. I mean, it doesn't have to be always so stylized or picture perfect. Just quick and easy.
What's the expectation? Like when I get on, when I look at other theater companies' websites and I see photos that I'm like, okay, they had somebody come in with a digital camera and take that. I get a little like, maybe it's just because I'm sitting behind the desk doing it, but when I see that, I'm like, okay, you could have spent $100 and made that. And I never want to be like on the other side of that thought. Where somebody looks at our stuff and it's like, you should have dropped $20 and that's does that like, do, anybody, does that?
I think you would set expectations. So if all of your Pinterest account were behind the scenes, like DIY, like on the street pictures, then that's what your Pinterest is. And then if your Facebook or if your website itself is all your professional photographs, then that's what that is. When you start mixing them is when people start going, I don't understand what you're doing. So as long as, you set up those expectations, and then people would have reasons to go to your Facebook and then go to your Pinterest. Like Facebook is where I see shots of the productions and people laughing, and Pinterest is where I go to see
everyday stuff.
Yeah.
Are we? Andrew's going like this.
No, Twitter question.
Oh, a Twitter question. Okay. All right.
The internet, the voice of the internet is back. Interestingly enough, the voice of the internet is like the only person in the world who's never been to Pinterest, and I have a suggestion about Pinterest from the internet. So we may have to crowdsource my crowdsourced suggestion. So from Twitter, somebody suggested that you use your open boards on Pinterest to solicit your audience for engaging ideas and interesting things to be hosted to that board. So instead of just generating content on your own, why not have your audience generate content? And it doesn't necessarily have to be funny, but what it is it's engaging to the rest of your audience, and the people who are submitting that stuff are going to be pumped up, about your future events anyway. You're more engaging people who are already, attached.
Can I ask a follow-up question regarding Pinterest for anyone anyone but you? So, anecdotally, I have a cupcake blog, and that gets a good amount of Pinterest traffic because people like cupcakes. But I have trouble getting Pinterest traffic for the mom poems, even though the keywords are in there: mom, poem, comedy, but we don't have a lot of followers on the Pinterest board yet. So how do you specifically, or how does anyone who uses Pinterest, how do you generate that sort of following on Pinterest, rather than or do you pull people in from other sites and say, come to our Pinterest board? Is it the latter?
Yeah, what we've done is we have a link on our Facebook page. We have a link on our website. We tweet about it and say, hey, go here. Again, we've linked our Pinterest in our tweets, so when we do a pin, it automatically goes out on our Twitter feed. Mm-hmm. So people there's a push to it. Mm-hmm. I'm not really sure how many people are actually following. I get lost in the sea of Pinterest. I don't do it all that often, mm-hmm. But I do know that there will be people who constantly go back to certain pages. But I just think if you make it engaging and give them a reason to go, then they tend to follow it. And the more you have, if that's your only board up there, there's no reason for them to go really back, because there's nothing else really to see once you put the new ones up. They've seen it. So they want more content, and I think you probably find more people once you have more content up there for them to browse.
Okay. All right. Well, this was a great discussion, and okay. All right. We're going to have to wrap up this section, but again, as I said, you'll be here at the end, right, for more discussion. So if you can talk to them one-on-one, and we can all have a laugh.
Let's go to costume. Yeah.
Continue to discuss. All right. And last but not least, Samip is coming from your. We'll give Samip a minute to set up, because, as I had mentioned, he was coming from a banquet where he had received an award.
Rent Center CORP. Oh, okay. It's in a meeting. Yeah, but you said you had to really around, so we said you
Hey, how are you?
I don't do the booking. We usually have space. I'm just going to grab the water. What time is that? Okay.
Sure. I actually joined the call, but it's last city side.
Yes. So you want people there style to, yeah. The kind of model corner space is not how we book, and I think we should have
Now, I wasn't sure. Oh, bring online. SAADA? Okay. I don't know if SAADA or
well, what angle do you take a picture of?
Okay, no, I wasn't,
But this room, yes, for Canada's the race room is
All right. So now we're ready for our last presenter, Samip, who has informed me that it's pronounced SAADA.
also for
So, all right, if we can
bring it back.
Okay.
That's some of them probably.
Yeah.
You're looking for something.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Oh. Okay.
Was this for the primary? It was before the primary.
All right, so we're ready for our last presenter, Samip, from the South Asian American Digital Archive.
Thanks, Denny. My name is Samip Mallick, as Denny mentioned. I'm the executive director and co-founder of the South Asian American Digital Archive. And before I give you a little bit more background on our organization and, of course, talk more specifically about our social media strategy, I just want to thank all of you for participating in tonight's event and thank the organizers for creating such a valuable forum for nonprofits like ours to get feedback and input from the community on how we can do what we're doing better. So thank you. Our organization's mission is to document the history of the South Asian American community, a history that dates back to the late 1800s and the early 1900s in this country, and a history that we really know far too little about. To talk about what we mean by South Asia, there's a map up there, and the countries that we include in South Asia are Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and the many South Asian diaspora communities around the globe. What we mean by that is communities that have come directly from South Asia, but also those that have come through secondary or tertiary migration, so through Trinidad or South Africa or Guyana or Australia or the UK. There are over 3.4 million South Asian Americans in the United States, according to the latest census figures in 2010. And that means that 1 in every 100 Americans traces their heritage to South Asia. But despite that large community and growing community, it's grown over 80% since between 2000 and 2010, there hasn't been an effort by traditional archives to document the history of South Asians in this country. And it's a history that is in danger of being lost. And to demonstrate or sort of expand on the need for why communities should have and need to have access to their own histories, I want to share a quote with you from a scholar of archival studies named Jeanette Bastien, who did her research in the U.S. Virgin Islands, where she studied, so the U.S. Virgin Islands were previously a Danish colony and are now an American territory. And so the archival records, all the historical records, were removed from the islands and taken partly to Denmark and brought partly to the United States when the islands were transferred from Denmark to the U.S. And so Jeanette Bastien's research is really focused on the effect that that's had on the communities and people there. And so here's her quote. She says, "A community without its records is a community under siege, defending itself, its identity, and its version of history without a firm foundation on which to stand." A community without its records is a community under siege. I think it could rightly be said that the South Asian American community and many other immigrant and minority communities in the United States have been communities without access to their records. When we started our organization in 2008, and actually to this day, there are no other systematic efforts to document South Asian American history than the one that we're doing. And so to give you a little bit of background first, our organization was founded in 2008, and we started building our archival collections in 2010. So we've been building the archive for about 2 years now. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and our approach to archives is slightly different, or actually significantly different than traditional archives, in that we don't seek to take physical custody over any materials. Instead, we're collecting and digitizing and providing access to materials while allowing the original physical materials to remain with community members or organizations or institutions. So one story in particular that I want to share with you from the archive before I talk about social media specifically is that of Dalip Singh Sound. Dalip Sound came to the United States in 1920. He came to do his graduate studies at the University of California, Berkeley, and he finished with a PhD in mathematics in 1924 from UC Berkeley. But he graduated from the University of California at a time when, just a year previously, South Asians had been barred from becoming American citizens. That was a result of a Supreme Court decision that said because South Asians are not white, they cannot become American citizens. So, for example, here's an article that describes that decision. It's called Hindus Too Brunette to Vote Here from 1923. And you can see the racial attitudes of the day in this photograph, which is captioned with, quote-unquote, the problem. So that's the environment that Dalip Sound graduated into, and of course was unable to become an American citizen, was unable to vote, unable to own property, and most relevant to him at that time, unable to get a teaching job in his chosen profession, mathematics. So instead, he moved to Southern California and began earning a living the only way he could, which was working as a farmer. So he started working as a lettuce farmer in Southern California. And for the next 25 years, that's what he did. Worked as a farmer, but never really forgot his interest in politics and in world affairs and in his community. And so finally then, in the late 1940s, when after years of campaigning, South Asians were once again allowed to become American citizens, he soon after did, and ran for local office and was elected to judge in his county. Then, a few years later, in 1956, despite incredible odds, he ran for and was elected to serve the 29th District of California in the U.S. House of Representatives, making him the first person of Asian American heritage elected to national office, 1956. So soon after we started our organization in 2008, I flew to the Bay Area to meet with Dalip Sound's grandson, and I wanted to know about his grandfather's story, and I also wanted to know more about his archival materials, what had happened to them, how could we digitize them and collect them. And so what his grandson told me, let me show you a picture of his family. What his grandson told me was that in 1962, while Dalip Sound was still in office and still very popular, he suffered a debilitating stroke, one that left him barely able to speak, that left him unable to walk without assistance. And so because of the sudden and tragic way in which his career ended, of course there wasn't very much thought put into what happened to his materials at the time, so they were hastily boxed up and sent from one family member's house to the next until they ended up with his grandson. And when I met with him, his grandson told me that he had these large boxes full of his grandfather's materials, but that he didn't know what to do with them. They were sitting in his house. He hadn't been approached by any archives to take his materials on. And it really hit home to me about just how close we were to losing not just an incredibly important story from South Asian American history, but from American history, and about how many stories there are just like it out there waiting to be heard and in danger of being lost. So that's the work that we've been doing over the last 4 years. As I mentioned, we started building collections in 2010, so over the last 2 years have collected about 1,000 unique archival items, each of which help to really bring forward stories from the South Asian American community that haven't been heard before. This is a screenshot of our website. As you can see, we feature some stories in the banner in the middle, The one that we're featuring right now is about the Barber Scholarship, which was started in 1914 to support women from what they call the Orient, but China, Japan, India, to come to the United States to study at the University of Michigan. And all the materials that we collect are freely accessible to the public through our website. So to give you a little sense of where we are now as an organization, we're still a very small and growing organization. The organization was founded in 2008 in Chicago, but we've been here since July of 2012 here in Philadelphia. I left my position at the University of Chicago in July to begin working with SAADA full-time, volunteering with SAADA full-time. But our fundraising has gone well enough over the last 6 months that our organization's first full-time staff member. So we have a network. We have 4 board members around the country in Bay Area, Los Angeles, Chicago, and at Syracuse, New York. We have a network of volunteers around the country, actually around the world, and because we're a digital archive, a lot of the work of the organization can be done remotely. So I've really relied heavily on the network of volunteers. We've had coverage in the New York Times, but also in South Asian newspapers in South Asia and India and Pakistan, as well as in community media in the United States. We've also, what's changed a lot for the organization too over the course of 4 years has been, initially when we started, because we were starting small, really just wanted to build this archive, build this collection of materials, but have begun thinking more about how do we connect this archive with people? How do we make it more relevant to their lives today? And so I'll talk more about this, but social media has been a big part of that. But in addition, we've held events and presentations. We had about 25 events and presentations last year. And we recently, in Philadelphia, moved into our organization's first office space just north of Chinatown, so a few blocks from here. So to give you a sense of our goals for this year, and I bring these up partly because ideally our social media strategy would fit into these goals. So the 3 goals that I wanted to highlight for you were, one is, as a new and growing organization, fundraising and building organizational capacity is incredibly important to us. And so that's a majority of the time that as an organization needs to be spent towards doing that right now, just so we can ensure that this organization can sustain the archive over time for the next 1,500 years, hopefully. The second is, how do we operate a national organization, but one that's based here in Philadelphia? So how do we have a strong home and strong ties to our community here in Philadelphia, but also continue to keep people around the country, around the world, engaged in the work that we're doing? And once again, social media hopefully can play a big part in this. And the third is, how do we continue to raise awareness about South Asian American history? I think we've done a good job about this so far, but I think there are new ways that we can explore that we haven't done. So those are the goals that I want to bring to your attention. How we've used social media in the past, and I'll show you screenshots of our Facebook and Twitter profiles and things like that, but we have really just sort of 3 presences right now. One is Facebook, which is really where we put the most of our time. The second is Twitter, which is sort of where we regurgitate Facebook posts. And third is our email list, which I think has been in some ways really effective because we send out about 1 or 2 emails a month, but the people, we have a pretty good open rate and a pretty good click-through rate, and people seem to be really, committed to what we're doing as they read the emails. We've primarily been using social media and the email list to create awareness about South Asian American history through posting new materials in the archive or posting relevant materials. So, for example, around the time of the election in November, we posted that article about how South Asians couldn't vote for so many years to encourage people to get out the vote. And then we also post updates and news about the organization itself. So talk about, when we moved into our first office, the grant that Denny mentioned that we have received today, post that kind of stuff to Facebook. We also, but less so, solicit contributions and materials. We don't want it to be sort of just submit everything you have sitting in your attic, but when there's certain key themes or key kinds of materials that we're trying to collect, we solicit those contributions through social media. So if you'll remember, there was a tragic shooting at a Gurdwara Sikh temple in Wisconsin a few months ago, and there were a lot of sort of response from the community in organizing vigils and organizing events around that shooting. And so we asked people to submit photographs of those vigils, which people did, and we were really happy to receive. As I mentioned, we on average send out 1 or 2 emails per month to our email list and post about 1 thing or 1 or 2 things to Facebook, which, as I mentioned, sort of goes to Twitter as well. So the recent initiatives and I'll talk more about these in detail, but I've been happier about how we've been doing on Facebook recently in particular. But One is that we recently have a fundraising initiative where you can dedicate an office supply. So I mentioned we just moved into our new office. You can dedicate an office supply to some, people who can't afford to have a museum wing named after themselves can have a stapler named after them. It's actually gone really well, and it's. So the second is a book of the month group, which is also through Facebook, but trying to create mini Oprahs out of ourselves, where we choose a book of the month and have people read that book. And that's also, we just started that a few days ago, actually, but, we already have 10 or 15 people who signed up for that. And the third is a Facebook group, once again, that's a volunteer group that allows our volunteers to network with each other. I mentioned they're all over the country, all over the world, all doing interesting things in their own worlds, but want a way for them to connect with each other. So this is actually just our website traffic over the last year and a month. So this is starting January 1st, 2012. Going towards until February 1st of 2013. And you can see we've had about 8,000 visitors to the website. I'm not really particularly happy with the pages per visit or average visit duration, but I'm happy that the traffic has been growing over recent months. To give you a sense of where our traffic is coming from, primarily, actually, as you can see from the pie chart, 71% comes through search traffic, which is a result really of a Google grant that we have, which allows us to place up to $10,000 worth of advertising on the Google network, which I'd recommend for other nonprofits here to do too. It's really incredible. But in terms of referred traffic, our number one sort of source of traffic is Facebook, and you can see that Wikipedia is second, Twitter later on down the list, and Reddit too is on there. This is a screenshot of our Facebook page. We have, as you can see, about 1,300 likes on Facebook, and feel like we have a pretty active community around on Facebook. So, every post will get 10 to 20 likes or so, a bunch of shares, some comments, etc. This is our Twitter profile. Not quite as good here. We have 246 followers, but as I mentioned, it's really just a place to regurgitate Facebook posts. We haven't been very active, and this is just the nature of being a small organization that we can't really keep up with it. So to give you a sense of some of our more popular Facebook posts, this is our most popular post in 2012. This is a photograph that's a newspaper clipping that's captioned "3 Little Maids at Medical School," which is from the 1920s and is actually about an Indian woman and a couple other foreign students at the Women's Medical College of Pennsylvania. So in fact, the first Indian woman to do her MD in the United States was in Philadelphia at the Women's Medical College in 1886. So this is a photograph, and other women followed. This is a photograph of one of those women. So this had about 60 likes and 42 shares. As I mentioned, this is our recent fundraising campaign through Facebook. This is the Kishore and Gino hanging folders, and this is the sling-line stapler that says "Dedicated by Vivek in honor of Milton." If you remember Milton from Office Space. So our experience thus far, sort of some of the lessons that we've learned and where we're hoping to go is, one is that we were hoping that we'd be able to do fundraising through social media, and realized last year in our year-end campaign that it wasn't particularly effective for us. And my sort of hunch about that is that people are inundated by requests for donations constantly on social media, particularly on Facebook. And so I think, and myself, I just feel burned out by how many people are asking me for money all the time. So, but the more creative things like the dedicated office supply have worked better this year. The second, and this might just be a nature of Facebook these days, but it's only really a small proportion of our users who are viewing and interacting with our posts. We have 1,300 followers, but on average, about 300 to 400 see a post, according to Facebook's insights. And I think this is a result of Facebook's algorithm to try to increase ad revenue, but there's really nothing that we can do about that, I suppose. But that's a little bit unhappy. But it's also the same people who are liking and sharing our posts usually over and over again. So we have a consistent group of maybe 30, 40 people, but how do we engage more of those people is one of the questions. And the third point, or third lesson, is that it seems really beneficial to us to get people to sign up for our email list. So how can we sort of escalate them from just a Facebook subscriber or Facebook liked or a Twitter follower to signing up for our email list is one of the questions that we're trying to address. And just a couple more things. Our goals for social media in 2013. One is to build our donor base. As I mentioned, we didn't do so great in 2012, but I love your ideas on how we can do that in 2013. The second is to drive more traffic to the SAADA website. As you saw, Facebook has consistently been a good source of traffic for our website, but how do we continue to do that? The third is, how do we connect with key individuals in the community through social media? Twitter's one place, but LinkedIn for us, one of the ways that it's been effective is really trying to find like individuals and reaching out to them one-on-one. Not necessarily having them follow us on LinkedIn, but just sort of telling them about the organization. That's worked a little bit for us. And the fourth is, how do we continue to raise awareness about SAADA and about South Asian American history? So the questions, I sort of changed these things, so I hope you won't mind me sort of using these instead. But so the 4 questions are, how can we be effective at using social media without it taking up all our time? I think this is something that sounded like the other organizations are dealing with too, but since I'm the only staff member, obviously it's my time too. So how do we, and so I feel like we've been doing an okay job, but how can we be more strategic and more effective about it? The second is, how can we use social media to increase our donor base? As I mentioned, fundraising is a major priority for us this year, so how can we do that better, and how can we use social media to do that? Third is, how can we engage our followers more effectively? So this is in two ways. So one is, as I mentioned, how do we reach out to how do we get more people to be engaged with our social media? And secondly, how do we get people to feel like they're part of a family or part of an organization when they're not physically coming to our events necessarily? And fourth, which sounds like it's a consistent question again, which social media platforms are worth our time? Should we invest in something else as well at this point? So thanks again, and look forward to your comments.
Okay, so we've got 4 questions. Anybody want to kick it off? Okay, in the back. I think you haven't.
Social group, like you're using your groups and your Facebook to like explain that a little more. How you're using that? You're saying you're trying to find a way to like you don't want to a couple different causes. We want to get interaction going with certain people in our that support our cause, but we don't want to interact with everybody. You know what I mean? So I was kind of thinking maybe establishing groups to get these like team captains for our wall. You know what I mean? To interact. You think that would be effective? Like I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly how we've used it. As I mentioned, one group. So it's sort of like a subset of people who are more committed or more interested in the organization than others. So one is this Book of the Month club that we've done, where we have like 15 or so people who have signed up to read along and sort of comment and post. The other, as I mentioned, are volunteers for the organization. It's effective in the sense. Well, so one interesting thing about those groups is you can see exactly who's seen each post, which makes for some crazy stalking. You can. So it's interesting that not everyone's looking at the posts in the groups. Sometimes I don't know why that is. I don't know exactly how that comes up in people's feeds and things. So that's one thing to sort of be conscious of, I suppose. But do you have any? I mean, so. I guess it sounds like you'd be using it in a similar kind of way to us, which is
we haven't used it yet. We're kind of thinking about using it because we don't want to keep it developing different Facebook pages for each thing we want to talk about or certain people we want to address. Because like I said, it's going to get too many things to maintain.
So. Right, exactly, and that might be one of the challenges that we'll face. Is it just becomes another thing that we have to do. It's I guess the question there becomes how do we get the group members to actually generate the content and not have it be us.
Okay, I'm going to go around. Heather.
What are you using for your email group?
So we use direct mail, which is Mac software. We used MailChimp for a while, and I wasn't particularly happy with it.
Is there a sign up on your Facebook page directly from there to sign in?
There is, yeah. There is. And one thing that we changed recently that's helped us is we put the sign up directly into the header of our website. And we saw that our sign-ups for our email list went up significantly by doing that, but we haven't really seen very many people signing up from Facebook. I don't know if that's something. Is that like a problem bar?
Yeah, my one suggestion would be maybe offer something to the members who are currently signed up that invite a friend, and if their friend signs up, they get a discount or something, and maybe that might help word of mouth at least spread that around. So that suggestion.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Okay, and then Eric, we'll get to you. Eric,
Are there components of your website that correspond to to the donation campaign in general? I would assume so, and then also to the donating office supplies campaign. And there's both those are on your website.
So the fundraising campaign is. The office supply campaign isn't. That's only been through Facebook, and like I said, Twitter, sort of as an afterthought. But yeah, you're right. Like that. I don't know. Are you suggesting to sort of?
I would suggest so. Like I think I find that it's really effective when everything sort of leads back through the website.
Right.
And it is hard to get people to jump from Facebook to the website. But if there is some sort of empty office that gets populated as people donate things, or even just a list of things, a gallery.
Yeah.
I think that will drive traffic to your website, and also I find the campaigns that I respond to the most and campaigns that I find are most successful. People are ones where Facebook isn't the end point, or isn't just like, and you have a lot of viral, you have a lot of sharing for your photos and things like that. If you can catapult that into find out more here, or the story of the Three Little Maids continues on the website, and as less as an afterthought and more as a sort of direct call to action.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. Thank you.
Okay.
So to answer your first question, I think this is a tremendous chance to have a Facebook ad, because you have a clearly defined demographic that you want to reach out to. And you can easily reach out to this group via Facebook. And it is an inexpensive way that's not very time consuming to get a lot of attention to not just your Facebook fan page, but also to the idea of actually becoming a member of the organization, contributing money. You could word it, you could definitely have the link to the fan page, but say, consider joining the organization.
Have you had success with Facebook ads? So we've tried that.
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah, we have.
It might be just the way that we approached it, but what was more effective for us was promoting posts, I think. Have you, out of the two of those, do you think that one's more effective than the other?
I mean, we actually have not promoted posts, so I can't speak on that. But for us, the ad was pretty effective. And my nonprofit does not have such a clearly defined demographic.
Okay.
So.
Okay. That's helpful. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. In the back? Sorry.
This isn't exactly social media, but just on the homepage of your website, in terms of getting people to sign up for your email newsletter, just looking at it really quickly, I think that if you made the subscribe button bigger and then maybe had the form on a separate page, because what it looks like if you just glance at it is a login.
Oh, okay.
As opposed to a place to subscribe for email. So I think you would have a lot more people sign up for it if they could obviously see it was a subscribe button.
Okay, that's helpful.
Yeah. Well, other than Caitlin?
First of all, I think your organization is awesome. I think it's really great. I love learning things. So I'm just speaking as an individual. And just the little things that you've shared so far, I'm like, oh my God, I am honestly going to go home and check out your website.
Great.
So,
like us on Facebook too.
Yeah. Well, you're on Twitter, and maybe I'll donate some staples for that new staple. But what I use Twitter for is I like to use it to connect to websites, particularly to find out more information. So maybe two birds, one stone for you would be to tweet at someone, did you know that the first female MD was, and tweet that at Penn Medicine, or tweet that at some doctor around here, or a prominent female physician, or even at other nonprofits. We Career Wardrobe, we do professional development for women. Like, did you know? And tweet us a fact about South Asian women in the workforce, and just find ways to engage, because we're always looking for more information to support us. So if you can tweet information at someone, that's a good way to get your name in front of them, and then also inspire them to maybe look further into what you're talking about, because that's what you want people to do. That's your mission in the grand scheme of things. Other than just driving website traffic, you want to preserve this history and make more people aware of it. So that's maybe 3 birds with 1 stone.
Oh, that's an awesome suggestion.
That's a lot
actually.
of birds.
And then you're going out to all of
That
their
is a lot of
followers.
Yes.
No, that's a great suggestion. I mean, one of the hesitations that I've had in using Twitter is that it just seems like it takes so much more work. But that what you suggested actually really is just identifying materials in the archive that would be relevant to other people, and that's something that we're doing anyway. So that's actually a great.
It's just like cool.
Yeah.
Like, it's just neat. Like lettuce farming. Like that whole story
Right.
of Mr. Doctor
Sound. Yeah.
Doctor Sound.
Yeah.
That whole story could be tweeted at
All the lettuce
teachers,
farmers.
elementary teachers or something.
Yeah. No, that's a great suggestion.
Right, and also as you're with Twitter, the power of the retweet, which doesn't take a lot. You talk about low effort, right? If you start following, things that apply to your same area of interest, but they say the rule is, what is it, 4 to 1, 5 to 1, is like one for me and 3 or 4, 4 to 5 of other people. If you start doing that, well, I've certainly read that, and more people will start picking up, especially if you retweet something more than once, not the same tweet, but an organization or somebody that you feel is valuable or something. And I don't know if you have speakers that come in or whatever, but you start retweeting them if they don't know who you are, and you retweet a few times, people are going to say, oh, who's that?
Right.
And so anyway, it's just a way. It's a very easy way, and it's pretty low maintenance as far as how to do it. You don't even have to think up the tweet; just retweet it.
Thank you. And just to tack on to that, it's also fine. When you identify the individuals who you mentioned, finding the people who have 14,000 like lettuce farming, at Whole Foods VA, because their business they have that kind of loyal customer following who can then the strategery
Right.
with which you do that.
Right.
You're saying, in other words, identifying the individuals or the organizations that we want to sort of target. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yeah, or where there's some kind of common ground.
Right, sure.
Like Whole Foods is the one that came to mind because they're so focused on such a particular thing.
Right.
Not just a grocery store, but also the lifestyle of that particular grocery store.
Sure.
And community commitment.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, okay.
I have a question. Is there a certain age group that's more predominant in your association?
Yeah, in terms of our social media sort of connections, or just
Everybody. I'm not a. Maybe you missed it. I'm a social worker. I'm not. Don't provide tech support. I'm here to learn. And piggybacking on what you were talking about, women's or medical colleges. I'm thinking of just colleges that attract international students, and do they go back home or do they stay here? Are there I don't know about immigration. Is it still the case where do some people have to be not mentored? What's the sponsored or something? I don't know. Is there a certain group? Are they older people or middle-aged people who had ancestors who came from another country who have archives somehow, and there are a few things that they were able to bring. They have photographs.
Yeah, I mean, I think the South Asian American community is incredibly diverse, and I think there are individuals from all of those categories that you mentioned here in this country, and you saw 3.4 million South Asian Americans in this country, 1 in every 100 people. So now, as I mentioned, a lot of the community in smaller numbers began coming in the late 1800s, early 1900s. So they're on their second, third, fourth generation. They're Americans of second, third, fourth generation. There's also people who are coming more recently, both as skilled migrants and as unskilled, I guess is what the term used, although it's not really the term I would use. Migrants, working as taxi workers or working at department stores or at fast food restaurants. So the community is incredibly diverse, and one of the efforts that our archive really is engaged in is how do we tell that community's story, and particularly focus on the stories that don't get heard normally. A lot of the times you hear about doctors and engineers, the success stories of the community. How do we make sure that we talk about the diversity of the community through this archive?
Okay. I have to let Mitch. I know our time's almost up, but Mitch hasn't said anything tonight, so we have to give him the floor here.
Just one audience that hasn't come up tonight is the professional archivist, and the Library of Congress. In your Twitter and Facebook feeds, look for interesting things coming from the Library of Congress and retweet them. Also, send direct tweets to the Library of Congress. And I don't know how many accounts the Library of Congress has, but they must have dozens of different accounts and different topics. Yeah. Check all of them out, and just as another tangent, look for, as far as funding, look for grants from the Library of Congress or other organizations that sponsor electronic archives.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. I see some other hands up, so we can have a separate conversation with Samip because it's going to wrap up our event tonight. So thank you to everybody. Again, thank you so much for being a great crowd.